Hi everyone, Holly Kerwin here from Northside Psychology. Hope you're well. Coming through a little bit earlier today, which is my aim going forward. So I've been out with clients this morning in the city in Adelaide CBD, and I figured before I sit at my desk and get hooked into projects and all sorts of other things, I'd live stream first. So anyway, hopefully some of you can tune in. Now, I haven't really thought too much about what I'm going to talk about today. I'm just winging it, as is my way, I think. And I think that's the most comfortable way for me to do things, and to talk about really what I'm finding most prevalent at the moment. And certainly what I'm hearing across the board from so many people is overwhelm. People overwhelmed with busyness in life, with work, with juggling things, people feeling tired, people feeling run down, people not coming back from the holiday period over Christmas, feeling rested. And it's cumulative. And I think it's really important for everyone to stop, me included, and think about, okay, well, what am I doing about this? How am I going to do it differently? Because it won't magically just go away. These things won't just resolve on their own. You know, we need to make different choices around what we're doing. Choices with the way that we're behaving, choices with the way that we're managing our feelings, choices with the downtime that we're giving ourselves, you know, with the way that we're thinking, with the shoulds, the must-haves, you know, ought tos, you know, all of those kinds of things that just keep, for so many of us, keeping these unrelenting standards going, which ultimately just set us up to fail. So I think I'd really like people to just take a moment to reflect. You know, one of the great ways of reflecting here is journaling, because then we get this stuff out of our head and we start to get it down on paper. And with that process, we can get a little bit of distance. We can often start to see things a little bit more clearly. And when we're feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, as I've talked about before, we can't think clearly because the prefrontal cortex, the smart part of the brain, goes offline. So, you know, one of the first things we need to do is start to come down to bring that stress, overwhelm and anxiety down. And over the last few days, I've been putting out some videos with different types of tools to be able to do that. But if we can bring that stress, anxiety, overwhelm down, you know, we reduce that fight or flight response. We can often do that effectively and often quickly for a lot of people, using mindfulness and using our senses. And then we can access that smarter part of the brain, and then we can problem solve. So the thing is, though, if people are anxious in particular and overwhelmed, often in trying to problem solve, they'll go over and over the same kind of thing if it's in their head. And that doesn't help, right? Because we get very hooked into those pathways, those well-worn neural pathways. So even if we're trying to bring in some new patterns of behaviour and we're trying to do things a little bit differently, because those pathways are well trodden, they're now superhighways in the brain, it's very easy for us to be able to just hop straight back into those pathways, which is not going to be helpful. It's just going to reinforce those patterns. That's why doing something like a little bit of journaling can help, because you're not going to write the same thing over and over again. You're not going to write, I'm so stressed, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do it. You know, you're going to problem solve it. You're going to do it differently. And that's a pattern intercept, which can actually be really, really helpful. So, you know, coming back to that question, you know, are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling that you can't stay on top of everything? Are you feeling overburdened? Are you feeling that you can't keep all the balls in the air? And if so, what do you need to do differently? Do you need to delegate something? Do you need to dump something? Does it really need to be on your to-do list? You know, or do you just need to focus on the big three, you know, those main priority areas that you've got to get through? And do that, you know, actually just block out some time for yourself where you can get on top of those things and break them down so that you've got into SMART goals, so that you start to feel more of a sense of achievement. You know, do you need to tackle the low-hanging fruit first so that you get some runs on the board and start to feel as though you're making progress? Do you need to set more realistic goals for yourself? Do you need to look at your values? Do you need to come back and reevaluate what's actually really important in life? You know, on my deathbed when I'm 96, surrounded by a loving family, you know, what's going to be really important? Was it ticking all of these things off and keeping all these balls in the air, or was it something else that adds more meaning to life, that actually is about often relationships and connections and having time, quality time with the people around us? And it's hard to do. I get it. I get it's hard to do when we've got so many competing demands and responsibilities. But I'd really encourage people just to try to take a step back and evaluate, because when we're on that wagon, you know, it's like we're in a runaway train, you know, and it's only until we put the brakes on and evaluate what's happening that we can actually weigh up, is this the direction we want to go in or not? Otherwise, we're just pulled along by the inertia of life and not necessarily in the direction that we would ultimately like to go. We're just doing it because we've been doing it. We're doing it because it's a course that sometimes we feel that we should be on. But we have to come back. We have to remember that we have choices. And to be able to make informed decisions, we really need to evaluate what we're doing and where we're going and what we want to do, what's working for us. Okay, so anyway, just a little bit more on overwhelm today, because it's a theme that I'm seeing over and over again, and you know, there's so much that we can do about it, but so often with all of this, it's about doing it differently and remembering that nothing changes if nothing changes. All right, so a little bit to ponder over the weekend. Thank you for tuning in. I can see a few people live. That's very kind of you. I hope that you get something out of this. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. I will do a quick live stream both days on the weekend and try to do that earlier rather than later, as is my pattern at the moment, what I'm trying to work towards with talking about pattern intercepts. Okay, take care all. Bye.